please. Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where this week I've been living with this 2025 Nissan Z Performance. It's been a couple of years since we've driven one. The last one was gray with red interior. This one I think is spec'd a bit better. Bayside blue with a matching blue interior. As James May would say, outrageous, but I like this for more than just the spec. I think this is one of the most beautiful cars currently available on the new car market, and I think it's because it still looks like a Nissan Z. They've kind of taken all of these design elements from previous Fairlady Z models and incorporated them into this new Z car, and that's really what people want. If you ever read like a Facebook comment section of the announcement of a new car, everyone just says, why don't they just take the old car and put a modern engine in it? And that's essentially what the Nissan Z is. This is basically a 370Z, which was basically a 350Z. So the Z car's been the same for quite a while, but they have actually stuck a new engine under the hood, or they did in 2023. This is a continuation of that, of course, but under there we have the VR30DD TT. In more simpler terms, a twin-turbo 3-liter V6 in this new Z, making 400 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque. This particular model is a 6-speed manual, though Nissan will also sell you what I think is a Mercedes-sourced 9-speed automatic. Since this is the performance model, it has a limited slip differential. Of course, it's rear-wheel drive. And speaking of the performance model, this is about 10 grand more than the entry-level sport trim. And I couldn't really work out why, and then I went on Nissan's website and I read about all of the extra things they give you on the performance model. And well, the most obvious thing are these raise wheels. Nissan always does a really good job with their factory wheels. This one's got the optional Z center caps, which I do very much enjoy. They even say raise forged on them. And these are a little bit bigger. These are a 19-inch. The base sport car gets an 18. This is on a Bridgestone Potenza S007. A tire famous for not having traction today, because we're in like this infinite moisture glitch right now. The ground is colder than the air, so it's kind of like, you know, when it's a hot day in the summer, you're having like a cold zesty drink and it gets all sort of frosted on the outside. That's basically what the ground is doing. So we're gonna take it easy today on this very odd 60-degree November day. But anyway, we've got Akebono brakes. You can see we've got those painted in red. Those look quite nice. We've got front and rear spoilers. The rear spoiler is much easier to see, and in fact the rear I think might be my favorite angle of this car, because it looks like a Z32, which is one of my favorite generations of Nissan Z. Otherwise, on the outside, not a whole lot of differences. There are a lot more luxuries you get inside with the performance, which we will save for when we actually sit in the car. But this Bayside blue looks fantastic. And this is genuinely one of those cars that I've just been walking out to the driveway and staring at it because it is so pretty. All right, well, anyway, what are we doing today? We're going to show you what it's like to live with this, as I've been living with it for the past few days. As you can see, we've got a bit of a blue theme going on, so I think that means we have to make a stop at Culver's. Maybe we'll run to the store, do some other things, but I just want to see if this Nissan Z is as livable as some of its competitors. This car, as spec today, is $55,000. The base price of the performance model 52 base of the entire car is $42,000. So you can get into one of these for around the $50,000 mark pretty comfortably. Let's pop the hood and show you this VR30DD TT. Where you'll find we have no hood struts for our $55,000, but I've been seeing a lot in my comments section. People don't like hood struts. So, I mean, I guess nothing's here to fail. This won't fail. It's just a piece of metal. Got a strut tower brace. There is our twin turbo V6. This is the same engine that you would have found in some older Infiniti models. I think the old Red Sport 400 cars had this same powertrain, but you would have never found this in another Z car. The old 370Z and 350Z had naturally aspirated V6s. So for the first time in a while, a Z car has a twin turbo again. So that is quite cool. It would maybe be neat if Nissan gave you the option, maybe put a naturally aspirated V6 in the sport trim, make this thing a bit cheaper, maybe make it in the 30s would be a bit more accessible. But no matter what trim you get, you have the same engine. Even if you opt for the $65,000 Nismo, or $62,000, whatever it is, that still has the same engine. It's got a bit of a power bump. Anyway, let's check out the lift back here. You push in on the bottom of the Nissan badge and it pops this open. I quite like that. You can see more bracing in the back. This is typical for Nissan Zs to have this. Pretty high load surface, and obviously this is a sports car, so we're not talking SUVs. You got to lift things up, over, and into this. We've got this cool accessory mat back here, and I don't think anything really lives under this. Let's see what we got. Looks like we've got an amp for the Bose sound system. We've got, what is this? It looks like carbon fiber. Oh, it's the owner's manual. Quite like that. Obviously no spare tire under here and no room for one, especially if you have the Bose. That is a standard feature here on the Performance model. The Sport trim just gets a regular, degular 6-speaker unbranded system. We have the Bose 8-speaker here in this Performance. As I stated, we've got a 275 on the back, a 255 in the front. Bit of a staggered setup, but I know, as I said, we could just sort of walk around this and stare at it all day, but why don't we jump in to this blue interior? Okay, this is a little bit, I don't know. I like it for camera purposes because it's bright, it's exciting for you all to see a double blue spec. I think it's cool that Nissan lets you pair the blue with the blue, and I think in a vacuum, just kind of by themselves, I do really like these blue seats. You've got Alcantara inserts. These are special to the Performance as well. They are power, forward and back. They're manual to adjust your height. Where for the first couple of days, I found this driving position a little bit awkward. It did feel a little bit high. I have settled into this a bit more, and you know, you can kind of work these knobs, and I've just got this all the way down to the floor as low as possible. But there is, what I'm trying to say is there is a decent amount of adjustment here to get your driving position dialed in. Just like the 350Z, our seat adjusters are on the right-hand side of the seat, which I actually kind of like. You don't have to go fumbling for them to search. They're just right here within sight. Let's shut this door and get this thing started. Inside we have a fully digital gauge cluster. The Performance gets a slightly larger infotainment screen, wireless CarPlay, and Android Auto. Physical gauge pods, love to see that. I mean, Nissan's really killed it with the exterior and interior design, at least. I will give them that. Everything looks fantastic. 6-speed manual transmission. In this particular car, you can opt for the 9-speed automatic. We've got this sliding armrest, which is also a center console. Don't really know what you would fit in there, but you could plug something in, I suppose. If you want 2 cup holders, though, you have to have this all the way back. I've been keeping it slided forward so I can rest my elbow on it. Little storage cubby behind the passenger seat and little trays behind both seats to put extra things. So, I don't know, I couldn't quite convince Emily to take a road trip in this, but I do think this would be quite road trippable. The seats feel quite plush and supportive, and check this out. You've even got an extra cup holder on each door panel. So 4 cup holders total. Each passenger in this can have 2 drinks. How American market is that? We touched a little bit earlier on this car being pretty old-fashioned, and that does carry to some of the tech. For instance, we don't have any drive modes in this car. The only thing you can toggle on and off is the active rev matching for the manual transmission, which I have been leaving on because it does a pretty decent job. Got another physical button over here for your traction control. So love to see that. You don't have to go through a menu to toggle it. But we also have fixed dampers on this car. No sport setting for the suspension. We've got ancient heated seat buttons right here. I mean, Nissan has just kind of worked with what they have, and assuming that they didn't really have much money to do this, I would say that they have made quite an appropriate product here for what they had. There's just a lot of things you touch in here that make you go, that feels maybe like it's been in the parts bin since 2003, and some of the things probably have. Physical climate control panel, physical buttons to control some things on the infotainment, volume knob for the 8-speaker Bose sound system. You guys pretty much know this car anyway by now, so let's just go ahead and get it out on the road and show you what it's like to drive. This is my favorite gauge cluster design you can have on the Z. The other ones are just sort of like regular Nissan, just like what you'd find in a Nissan Rogue. Got that one, and then you've got also what they call the enhanced, which means you can just put like a bunch of stuff in the middle if you'd like. You can see the car, you can see the song I'm listening to there. But man, I'll tell you what, if you're gonna do a digital gauge cluster, you gotta make it cool, and I think this is nice. You've got your shift lights at the top. I've got my G-force over here on the left. You can have a redundant boost gauge, I guess, if you want. So that's why I've got the G meter. And you've got some good T's and P's over on the right. Oil temp, water temp, oil pressure, diff oil, all of the stuff. We may actually stop and get some fuel as well. We're down to 73 miles to E. Let's open up our wireless CarPlay. We'll run Waze today. But okay, let's go. Into reverse, we see a reversing camera from the beginning of time when reverse cameras became mandated, I suppose. Pretty low quality, but we do have leading lines, as you can see, so that is nice, but overall quality is quite poor. Into first gear. First thing you notice is that at low speeds, just kind of putzing this thing around, the steering is very light, which you guys know I like in just sort of casual situations. Makes the C a lot easier to live with. When casually driving with this manual transmission, it's quite easy as well. Pretty distinguishable grab point with the clutch. Makes your takeoffs nice and smooth. And actually, while we're here for a second, I'm going to dim the gauge cluster a bit, which is a physical button there to the right of the steering wheel. If you want to do the infotainment, it's this button here, and it's a little bit irritating to use, but I've already dimmed that, so we won't have to go through that together. This car is quick. I haven't driven one of these in a couple of years, and I forgot just how much power these have. 400 horsepower. This weighs about 3,500 pounds. We still have a bit of the characterful trumpet noise that you got in the 350 and 370Z, but the turbos do tone that down a bit. And if I remember correctly, the manual transmission car actually has a quieter muffler than the automatic. I'm sure that has something to do with like noise regulations and things, but with this being a Nissan Z, I'm sure there's plenty of aftermarket support for this car. Something like an exhaust is very easy to change, especially when the car is as simple as this. I don't feel like going behind those people, so we're going to go this way, and we're going to show you a launch control. Z Performance comes standard with launch control and no-lift shift. However, the no-lift shift only works after a launch control, which means once you take your foot out of it, it cancels the no-lift shift. But anyway, let's see if we have any grip today. Actually, a lot more traction than I thought. Let's do one more up here, actually. I want to see if I can get a little bit of a better launch. Actually, this time I'm going to turn traction off. You can do it with or without, which I do like, but I think it'll kill the power less if I have traction off. All right, traction off. Let's try this again. No-lift shift works pretty well. Definitely not as sophisticated as a system that you'd see with Porsche or General Motors, but it gets the job done. I do wish there was some way to leave the no-lift shift on, though, because say I'm coming out of a corner in second gear, I want a no-lift third. The system doesn't support that, or at least in my experience. I tried doing a no-lift shift, and the system was not engaged. So I've not tried it again since, but with my experience, I found that it does only work post-launch control. All right, guys, I'm inserting this in. It's a little bit later in the day. The roads have dried out, and I think we'll have some good traction for a proper launch control. So let's go ahead and try that now. and see if we can not wheel hop as much as we did earlier. A little bit better. Still a little bit of wheel hop there, but I don't know, might give you a better idea of what a launch control in more ideal conditions is like. That was just all wheel spin. straight up wheel spin. Limited slip differential does a good job. It is mechanical as well. That alone is a good reason to front the extra 10K over the Sport. But man, how cool would it be if you could just option a limited slip diff in the Sport? I suppose you could put one in yourself. Anyway, let's do a little loop. Talk a bit more about what this Nissan Z is like to drive spiritedly. And then we'll show you what it's like to live with, which is what most people are going to be doing anyway, having this thing as a daily driver. So here's the thing. With this car feeling a bit old, means that there are some inputs that are a bit vague. The shifter, for one. It's a bit rubbery, it's a bit vague. I've had a couple of moments where I go for a 3.4 and end up somehow almost doing a 3.2, which is very bad. Just got no grip. So the shifter, there's definitely a little bit of a learning curve to it. But what I don't love about that is it kind of makes it harder for you to feel like a hero when you feel a little bit sloppy with your gear shift. Now again, I'm sure there's some sort of an aftermarket shifter you could put on this that would definitely take care of that. Rev matching system does a pretty good job. You've got a little bit of a lurch after a downshift, so you've got to do a bit more clutch work than you would have to do in like a competitor with their own rev matching system. Taking this corner easy, which is probably good for today considering the traction issue. I don't mind the sound that the car makes. I mean, I think it's okay. Turn this. Use my physical climate knob to give myself some cool air. Steering, love it. No real complaints with that. There's not a ton of feel, but the steering itself is very quick, and you don't really have like that on-center dead zone that you get with a lot of new cars. Let's do this one more time. Do we have any grip? The answer is no. Living with a Nissan Z in November, and I think they're just going to take my corner. So, you know what? We're just going to go straight to the highway because I don't feel like driving behind a slow van. Yep, and they are taking the corner. All right, we're going to slow this down. We're going to see what this sounds like under the bridge up here. I don't think it's going to sound like much. We'll give it a shot. I will say, this car does kind of give like the Mustang effect where you just, there's that sense of like aura, like the cool factor while driving this. It's definitely a reason you go for a Nissan Z. Let's put these windows down, which you are able to do at speed, unlike a Toyota Supra. Okay, let's see what it sounds like. Come on, there you go. The last car I did that in was a Porsche GT3 Touring, so I'm a bit spoiled for choice, I think. It sounds okay. You know, I'm not going to say that this sounds like a vacuum cleaner, that it sounds bad. We don't have a ton of driver aids in this, but surprisingly, we do actually have adaptive cruise control, so obviously that is adjustable here on the steering wheel. System seems to do an okay job from what I have seen this week. Cruising on the highway, literally zero complaints. It's quiet in this car. The suspension tuning is fantastic. This is a really terrible section of highway that you guys have seen me do in some cars where the damping is just not right. The car bounces the whole time. Focus RS, GR Corolla, there have been others that I'm forgetting. This is not bouncing at all. I mean, this is like incredibly cozy. I think what we have here is a proper Grand Touring car. I think more so than like a razor sharp sports car that every input is satisfying, makes you feel like a hero. I think this is just straight up a very cozy, fun to drive Grand Touring car. We're really seeing that here with the ride quality on the highway. I mean, this is smoother than like some SUVs that I drive. Seriously, they've got the damping so properly dialed in this thing. Let's see how this adaptive cruise reacts to the braking here. Actually, quite naturally, it's not slamming on the brakes. Elbow comfiness in here is great as well. This is genuinely one of the squishiest door panels I've ever felt in my life here. It does fall apart a bit on the right-hand side, though. Similar to the Ford Mustang, again. The center console is not super great for resting your elbow on. They've had to fit sort of everything else here, and they haven't considered the elbow. Luckily, you can kind of rest your arm back a bit. And actually, when you're shifting, this is probably the logic here. When you're shifting gears, you can rest the elbow here on the center console, which does have a little bit of squish to it. Not a whole lot, but it does have some. Once you do actually get in a good rhythm with this car, it does become a lot more fun. I'll be honest, it took me a couple of days to get smooth with it. But here we are, coming up to the pearly gates. It is lunchtime right now, which means the drive-thru might be a bit packed. It doesn't look too bad, actually, under first impressions. I don't know what I want today. Might just get some cheese curds. I don't know that I've ever ordered a cheese curd in a Topher Drives video. I always get the same thing: tenders, fries, sweet tea. I might just do like a little order of curds and a sweet tea today. That might be the move. Oh, look at this wonderful Chevy S10. Go up here. Maneuverability is lovely. No real cameras or anything, but we'll get more into that in a second.
Hi, welcome to Culver. Look what we make fresh for you today.
Hello, may I please just do a medium cheese curd and a sweet tea?
Medium cheese curd and a sweet tea?
Yes, please.
Anything else?
That'll be it.
Can I get a name for that order?
Chris?
Chris?
Yep.
Okay, that comes out to $8.25 at the window.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you.
Up we go. Maneuverability here is great. Love this steering that, like I said, is kind of on the lighter side. Very easy to place this Nissan Z just because you can see so well out of the front. I'm able to see kind of where each fender is. Mirrors do a good job. I can see that beautiful haunch back there. Oh, why are we in reverse? Don't be in reverse right now. Don't be in reverse. What on earth is happening? That was terrifying. Did not like that at all. Okay. You do sometimes feel a bit vulnerable when you're in a car that's so low down. I mean, obviously that vehicle has a backup camera, and I'm sure they saw me, but it's still a bit unsettling.
Here you go.
Thank you.
You can pull up behind that burgundy truck on the right. You have order for today, sir.
Got it. Yep, you too. Thanks. Love that we have physical handbrake. Also, our turning circle will allow us to not have to go into reverse and scare the person behind us. Okay, behind this lovely Super Duty. Front parking sensors letting me know I am getting close. We'll go ahead and shut this off. Love that we have a physical, mechanical parking brake. which means if you're someone like the Topher, you could do handbrake turns. Or like me, because I did go to stunt driving school once. That video is over on the Topher channel. If you've seen it, you know. Here's where we have the drink right now in this cup holder behind the heated seats. But if I do this, I could move it back a bit, which I think kind of frees this up. Maybe my elbow would hit that. Is it better here? Now, I think I'm going to leave it in this further back cup holder. Oh, crap. Hello. Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it. Window decided not to roll down. That's okay. All right, let's make a move. Just a little baby bag here today of cheese curds. Actually, let's put this back here so we don't risk getting grease on the suede insert. I think we'll park here and get a picture of the Z in front of Culver's. Culver's, if you're watching, I want nothing more than to partner with you. Could you guys imagine if I got a Culver's brand deal? Could you imagine anything better? All is well in my world right now. As far as the test for being able to put a fry or a curd in the door, unfortunately, the Z doesn't pass that. Or it will until you don't have enough curds, and then it'll fall through, because this goes through there. So you do have to keep these elsewhere. We're going to take a break on eating those so we can finish the video out for you guys. I might run and get some fuel, just because we are almost empty. Okay, first test here on ground clearance. This is always a little bit of a sketchy one. Just got to angle out, and usually you'll be good. Trying to get into the fuel station here. We've got a semi-truck. Oh, Altima coming up the rear on its settling. Okay, we'll just go right here on the corner. Okay. Some fuel for the Nissan Z. Here we go. I think this thing has one of the biggest fuel doors I've ever seen. Look at that. Obviously premium only. We do have a fuel cap on this guy as well, but you've got a place to put it right there. Also, I said earlier that the back looks like a Z32. There it is, 11 gallons going in. But I think the front kind of looks like the OG 240Z, like from the late 60s. Getting a little bit of that, and kind of like that pointy front end and this line here that goes up the hood. Not too bad. Let's get this guy back on. Back into the Nissan Z. Ingress and egress, it's all right. I mean, you do sit almost on the floor. The seat's about that far off the floor of the car, so, you know, it's not super majestic getting in and out, but not as bad as something like a Porsche with a bucket seat. Got 262 miles of indicated range. This Nissan Z Performance is rated at 20 mpg combined, which better than I would have guessed, honestly. 18 city and 24 highway? That sounds right. But, all right, well, speaking of highway, let's get this thing back on the highway, and we'll run this into town, and we'll wrap this one up. Cool. Still don't have any grip. Keep that in mind. All right, well, as we do this section of highway, as we get this into town, why don't we do a test here on this 8-speaker Bose and show you what that's like. The scariest thing in the world is when you're trying to make a pass and and you've got an Altima in the rearview mirror. Come on! Get me away from this person, please! We're gonna beat him at his own game. Oh, he's going right. It's rare for an Altima. Here is decent. I'm not going to say it's great. Definitely not a strong system from Bose, which is a little bit weird because Nissan Bose is usually pretty good. This one, again, I would say is just okay. Admittedly, I have boosted the bass and treble just because at its bass setting, it's super hollow, and I don't know, just wanted a little bit more power there, and it does sound better when you boost some of the levels up yourself. But just to touch on a couple more ergonomic things before we wrap this one up, love the steering wheel. I think design-wise, I love a good circle center airbag cover there. I think thickness, size, everything is good here. Visibility, framing, this cluster, all good. The center console, it does intrude a bit on the driver's leg compartment, so if you're a little bit of a bigger human, you might find this a bit annoying, though they have padded it some. Like the way this adaptive cruise is acting. We talked about that earlier. Vent placement is good. You even get this little vent in the door panel to like super precisely aim this at you, and I'm pretty sure the 350Z had this too. And this car does genuinely feel like a proper continuation of the 350Z. In some ways, the twin turbo engine feels a bit out of place in here just because the 350Z was so smooth, so buttery, so easy to master. Obviously the 350Z didn't have the auto rev matching. We didn't see that until the 370Z. But with this kind of peaky twin turbo powertrain, which I do like, I'm not saying that it's bad, just in this platform that otherwise feels a bit old, I don't know, it just, sometimes the calibration of things doesn't feel quite right in certain circumstances. And it reminds you that this is basically a 20-year-old car with a much newer engine. So someone called that charming, including me. I would call that charming. Okay, we need to kill this adaptive cruise. It is freaking out. I think it's charming sometimes, but other times it does get a bit annoying. So definitely something to keep in mind. I mean, if you're buying this car, you probably already know that. It's not going to come as a surprise to you. But I do genuinely think this is a car that you could sit in for long periods of time and not have fatigue. The only thing that concerns me is that we don't have a lumbar adjust on the seat, or at least not one that I've found. I have road trip cars that don't have lumbar adjust, and they've been okay. So it all depends on if the seat is supportive enough. Maybe someday we'll road trip a Nissan Z. Definitely let me know if you want to see that. It'd be cool to do maybe a Nismo or even a base model. This thing is seriously quick. I mean, like, pulls like an absolute freight train. I would say it's underrated. My butt dyno tells me this is making 400 to the wheels. There's no way that's 400 crank horsepower. I feel like a lot of cars these days are underrated. I mean, it's been a thing since the beginning of time to underrate your horsepower, but this car is properly quick. No complaints in the power department. I just love these gauges too. I love a car with a few gauge pods. Come on, such a good look. Love that I have a spot right here to put my phone too. It's like, it's the perfect place. Alrighty guys, well, we're gonna get this off the highway. We're gonna get this to the grocery store, and I think we're just gonna wrap it in the parking lot, because if we don't, this is gonna end up being like an hour-long video, and I don't wanna do that to you. So we'll put it in a parking spot, see how it fits there. And I guess that'll be it. We'll wrap this one up. We'll give it one more shot to redeem itself here under these couple of bridges, but I don't think we'll hear anything that we have not yet heard. It might be a little too trafficy. Will it rev? Oh, it will. Got a little bit of traffic here. We can talk about what this is like in stop and go. One thing I like about this Z is that it does not have auto stop start, which means you don't have to worry about it shutting off. A manual transmission car, something that I really don't like. Gear changes at low speeds are smooth. You never feel like you're lugging the engine on this, which is nice. It's got plenty of low down torque for you to just short shift the heck out of it in downtown situations. In traffic, the clutch isn't heavy, so you're not wanting to chop your leg off. Auto rev matching makes this a lot easier as well. I mean, a lot of people think about auto rev matching as a performance thing, but really it's a convenience thing in day-to-day. It just makes everything so much smoother. Overall though, I think it's cool that this car exists. You know, it would have been so easy for Nissan to pull the plug on the Z car in the way that they did with the GTR, which I know is a very a much smaller market car. It's more of a niche buyer for that. The Z is a little bit more affordable and realistic for people to have a daily driver sports car starting at about 40 grand. So I like that we still have this car on the market. It's cool that, I mean, the enthusiast market is like pretty hot right now. I mean, we've got this, we've got the Supra, we've got Miatas, we've got GR86, we've got BRZ, we've got Mustang, all sorts of cool little sports car options. And love that Nissan is still a player in this game. So let's pull this into the parking lot, and that'll be a wrap on this one, I think, today. I had somebody ask me, does this car feel tiny? And I think the answer is no. I think this car feels just about perfectly sized. I wouldn't want this to be any smaller. I wouldn't want it to be any bigger. It's just about right for a sports car. Steering is so quick. Really love that. All right, let's get this backed in here. Into the corner spot. I want to say something actually. You know, when you talk to people about reversing cameras, especially older people, and they're like, oh, I would never trust a reversing camera. And you're like, why would you say that? This camera kind of makes me understand why they don't trust reversing cameras, because for the first like half a second to a second of engaging this camera, it's delayed. And that is sketchy, because when it skips a frame and you're then this much closer to whatever object you're approaching, it's definitely unsettling. So definitely want to take it slow, give it a second. Once you put it in reverse, let it sort of like catch up and open. But otherwise, I've had a good couple of days in this car. Ugh, if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, do so. I need to start plugging my Instagram more in these videos. I'll put it up on the screen right now, but you can see cars before you see them on the YouTube channel. You can reach out via DM and chat with me, whatever you would like. But anyway, that's a wrap on the 2025 Nissan Z Performance. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Hope you liked riding along with me. I love this. I think it's beautiful, and excited to drive some more in the future. But that'll be it for today. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. I didn't talk about spacing in the spot, but as you can see, just about perfect. It's good. Best angle of the car right here. Okay, that's it for real. See ya.